Hello and welcome to Construction Week Viewpoint. My name is Oscar Russo and today we are joined in the studio by special guest Greg Ward, the Managing Director of Transguard, who is here to, I hope, reveal some exciting news about the business and the direction of the marketplace this year and beyond. Greg, it's really good to have you in the studio.
Oh, thank you for having me.
No, well, it's really happy to have you here. So I thought we would start, Greg, by just going into your Integrated Facilities Services unit, which increased its revenue by 30% year on year in 2017. How is that unit of the business performing this year, and what are your plans for that unit?
So this year we're experiencing about 15% growth, which is obviously less than last year, but it depends how we look at our IFS. So I see competitors that they put everything together, security, cleaning, the MEP, the technical side, and then they say they're 5,000-6,000 strong. If we actually do that at Transguard, then we're 18,000 strong.
Right.
So, but if I take it as what I call my IFS team, which is my technicians, my cleaning, the real core facility management team, we've got about 15% growth. The profit is way outstripping that though, because we're choosing to work with the right clients and partner with the right people, and we've got. If you look back over the last 3 years, that business unit has had 200% growth on the revenue, which is pretty phenomenal in this time. Also, on top of that, we've now added a MEP and a fit-out side to that business, which has experienced 40% growth. Again, working and servicing with them clients that we're already doing the maintenance and FM on. So it's a phenomenal growth. Mm-hmm. The success is all down to our people.
Of course.
We've invested a lot of money in getting the right technical ability. Mm-hmm. We go great team. We have no politics at Transguard, which is very unusual because politics just bore me and it just gets in the way of everything. So we don't have it. And we're 70,000 strong, so we're a beast. But at the same time, we move very agile. So we move at pace and we're very agile. So we operate like a small business when we want to be, and very entrepreneurial. And that's all down to the staff.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about your workforce as well, 70,000 strong, and of course that fluctuates as well, as a result of just the people coming and going all the time. But you spoke about working with the main, clients that you choose to work with and people that that are good to work with. But what are the main kind of operational challenges that Transguard is facing in the market at the moment? I talk to a lot of people and there are just a range of different issues ongoing in the UAE at the moment that create a lot of challenges for business.
So I think let's start with the elephant on the table, liquidity in the market. And that's genuine liquidity. There's two reasons for that. One, I feel at the moment, there is an issue with liquidity in the market, but there's also an issue where customers are hiding behind that issue. Where they, literally, there are customers out there that will do anything not to pay.
Really? Okay.
I'll give you an example. I've got a customer that won't pay VAT through an escrow. Says he can't do it. It's all ridiculous. But, we've got the amount of customers over my last 7-8 years in Dubai that lose invoices is quite impressive as well.
They lose invoices?
They lose invoice, so we have to start the process again. So don't get me wrong, not all customers are like this, but I think everybody's experiencing this. And if it starts very much from the on the value food chain, so to speak, the smaller guys will really hurt because of this. So because people are just not getting paid, contracts flow as well. So payment terms are flowing down. If they're not getting paid, they're not paying, and it to me it's very unsustainable. And then I suppose my third point would probably be around our competitors, not all of them, but some of them chase revenue.
Okay.
I've seen this strategy many, many times, but I've never seen it work. It's short term. I don't believe it's at stakeholder level. Mm-hmm. But there's guys out there that will chase revenue, maybe to rob Peter to pay Paul, in their whole sphere of their workflows. But look at the experience that we've seen lately. It started with Rock in the UK, and then you've got the likes of Carillion. And if you really get into the detail of that, they chased revenue. And as long as they were winning more than they were losing, then they continue to chase. But the bottom line, they're not looking at the profit, which is obviously the bottom line. So, I suppose they would be my three things: liquidity, chasing revenue, and just working with the right customers.
Right. So you talk about those three things, Greg: liquidity, working with the right customers, and chasing revenue. How does Transguard kind of mitigate those market forces?
We never chase revenue.
Yeah.
Though we've got astronomical growth, I always say to the guys, we're not a charity. So what we want to do, and we want to work with what I call educated clients, where it's a win-win. We'll provide quality service at the right price, which enables me to develop my staff and provide that service. At the same time, that's exactly what they want to do, because then it's sustainable.
Right.
Because the moment you shake hands with a client, if you spend the next 3 years of that contract fighting that client for payment, you're not in a sustainable relationship.
Yeah. So
the way I look at it, you've got to make it sustainable. And Transguard, we just will not buy work, and we will not just chase that revenue.
And that's the key, because I mean, Construction Week held last week a dispute resolution in Abu Dhabi where the issue of payment delay, certainly for contractors, came up, and it continues to come up. And there are contractors that I speak to on and off the record that say, look, if the market doesn't improve and the situation doesn't improve, we may have to consider our position in the UAE. And of course, Transguard is not like that at all. But does Transguard face payment delays in the same way that construction companies face them?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the manpower side of our business, which is about 40,000 of our staff, we have financial securities. Now, don't get me wrong, we have experience where people have left the country and they might do a PDC, things like that. So then it's not worth the paper it's written on, because there's no one here. I think on the FM side is where it's even worse, because you are at the bottom of that food chain.
Yeah.
So if you're in construction and you're doing fit out and there's 20% left of that project to finish, you have something to hold the client to. Now, don't get me wrong, the last 5 and 10%, it's very hard to get paid.
Yeah.
This is not just the UAE. This is a worldwide thing. But then when you get into a place where in FM, you are the last person. So, you've done your service, you've cleaned all them rooms.
Yep.
You're into the next month. So you're sort of then getting, a lot of these companies get into a cycle where we will get paid next month, or we get paid next month.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, like I keep saying the word sustainable, it's not sustainable. It will fall down, but it affects the staff as well, because it affects everybody, all the small suppliers. The bottom line, it affects the economy.
Yeah, of course. And that's an issue as well. But, I know we've spoken a lot about some of the challenges in the market. Greg, we've spoken about liquidity and payment delays. Our editor, Neha Bhatia, former editor of Facilities Management, she asked me an FM question, which I wanted to put to you, which is early involvement for FM companies on the rise, or do you think they're still brought in at the tail end of a project?
I think the majority of the time they're brought in at the tail end.
Yeah.
I was working on this 15 years ago when I was running Heathrow Airport and trying to get the FM providers up front when we were doing design, especially around Terminal 5 and things like that. But there are green shoots. We are seeing it. I was in a meeting last week where the developer is asking us to come and help him, consult, show us his plans, tell us where we think he's going wrong, et cetera, when it comes to the maintenance piece. So there are people that are trying to do it, which is great, and it's where we need to go to. Are we going to get there quickly? No.
But what are some of the benefits of kind of involving an FM company early on that process?
I mean, I always look at, there's an old saying that many, many years ago, someone, Ray O'Rourke, who owns Lang O'Rourke, told me, you spend 100 million to build the building and you'll spend 500 million to operate that building and maintain it.
Yeah. So
why aren't you up front doing that piece of work? Because actually that's where all your savings are going to come from. But people just still don't think like that. So it's essential, because all your maintenance, you go to places where you need to even right down to change lamps in a retail unit, but you can't get to that lamp because they fit it out in such a way that you've got to take the wall out to get to the lamp. And that's because they're not looking at it from a user point of view.
Okay.
So, I'm using that as a light-hearted example, but it is a true example. So I think it gets to the point where the designers are designing their beautiful building and they want to see as their beautiful building. And then you'll talk to people like myself, who's an operator, and you want, yes, they've got no problem with it looking beautiful, but you've got to be able to maintain it. Right.
And actually bringing in the FM companies early in that process means it's easier for those companies to operate. Yeah,
100%. You've got the expertise. And then for the landlord point of view, the actual owner, it's more cost effective for them to bring the people in at the beginning.
Right, okay.
So at the moment, but they all concentrate on cutting the money in the construction build.
Yeah.
But actually what they should be looking at is the next 20 years of that building.
Right, okay. And what can you do, and what can Transguard do and other FM companies do to kind of move that process along and get more people to, involve companies early on in the process?
I think for us, it's just continuing educating the clients. But like I say, you've got developers out here who are asking to speak to us to show us what they're doing and how they can maintain it going forward. So I think it's just a continuing effort of everybody to get in front and not look short term. At the moment, I think a lot of people, a lot of companies, especially in the UAE, are making strategies that are short term because of the market conditions. Where actually, it's the ones that are going to win are the ones that are thinking long term.
Right. Okay. And on that point, on having a long term strategy, can you just talk to me a little bit about what Transguard's long term strategy is for the region?
Well, Transguard will continue to grow and support the region. We support all the main critical main infrastructures on the region, like the airport, etc. We are involved in quite a few M&A opportunities at the moment, which obviously I can't speak about, but they will be coming into light. So sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
But so our strategy would be to do more M&A. Our strategy is to bring technology involved into the FM control rooms. We use guard tech on our security guard, so our security guard can take a photo off an FM issue, and that gets logged straight away.
Okay.
Vice versa, the FM guys can also be trained, and which we do. So if they see a security incident, they can take that photo as well, and it goes back to the control room. So all of a sudden now you have got more eyes, more ears, as well as using technology like your CCTV and all the smart technology that's out there now to increase, which will give everyone an opportunity. So I think our strategy is we're very much a people business.
Right.
And we're investing a lot in their development and their training at the same time bringing technology into play.
Okay. And obviously I know you can't talk about the particulars surrounding any M&A activity because of course you can't mention it until there's commercial sensitivities and all of that involved in them. But what type of companies would you be looking at? And would you be looking at mergers or would you be looking at acquisitions?
Probably more acquisitions.
Okay.
I think most companies, so there is a lot in the FM sector, which maybe are different work streams. So there's, lots, wherever it's, pest control, rope access, so there's pieces around that kind of acquisitions, but and then there's the bigger piece around the actual main security. Ones I'm really interested in are the ones that are providing cutting edge technology.
Okay.
That's where, we need to be.
Right. Okay. And do you think when could we expect kind of this activity to be announced? Would we expect something 2018 or are we looking at 2019, 2020?
There'll be at least 2 this year, 2018. And there'll probably be 3 or 4 next year.
Oh, wow, so incredibly busy for you then. Yeah,
really,
I will have to touch base with you about that closer to the time then, I think.
Yeah, sounds good.
And then just kind of moving away from M&A, is there anything else kind of coming up for the business that you think is kind of really important to talk about?
We're launching loads of our own initiatives.
Yeah.
Transguard Living's been out there for 12 months and it grows 20% every month, which is our B2C. It's what we do B2B. We're doing B2C. And that's got phenomenal growth, and we can see loads of add-ons to that. We're looking at that all the time. We've also set up our own business of delivery, Transguard Delivery. Okay. So again, that's growing very fast. We didn't look at doing any acquisitions for these. These are stuff that we think were in our gift. We're already doing it without marketing it, if you know what I mean. We're just launching an EVP, which is Executive Protection, which is a beautiful piece for the rest of security, because that means we have everything from systems integration, the consultants, to K9s, obviously man guarding, all the way through now to EVP, where we're going to be meeting people off aircraft and taking them through their families. That launches in the next couple of weeks. So it's some very exciting stuff coming on for Transguard, which are all in our gift. These aren't acquisitions; these are stuff that the teams have built together. Okay.
And then on the point of technology, obviously you were talking about the companies you're looking at are ones with kind of like technological capabilities. What are your plans in the technology space? Do you plan to invest in this area more moving forwards?
I think we have to.
Yeah.
Someone said something to me the other day, 10, 15 years ago, the only thing you used to do with your mobile phone is ring someone, text someone, or play Snake. Yeah. Now I can't live without my mobile phone. So we have to do it. So everybody wants that. If you look about booking a service, nobody wants to speak to anybody. They want it simple, easy. You want to know when the person's turning up, like Uber style.
Of course.
So technology is the way to go on everything we do now. The cameras are getting so smart. Facial recognition is so smart. Yeah. And we're rolling out our own time and attendance, which is pretty impressive for 60,000 odd people.
Okay, wow.
And at the same time, that's all going to be done by facial recognition. And, and we're going to install that. Our systems integration team is going to do that. So everything's moving. And that somehow that will be old hat in 5 years' time. So just keeping in front of the market.
I mean, and that's so important, isn't it, as well, when technology is evolving at such an unprecedented pace, that staying ahead of the market is just a constant challenge moving forwards as well. But I think obviously lots of exciting stuff to look forward to for Transguard. The final question, Greg, I wanted to ask you about is, what are the 3 things you would like to change about the industry? I mean, we've spoken a lot about liquidity in the market. We've spoken about the issues with payment delays. Obviously, you talk about the pace of technology and needing to stay ahead of the curve. But if you could change 3 things about the industry in the UAE today, what would they be? On-time payment.
3 rules of business I tell my team: cash, cash, and cash. I think what I'd like to do, in all seriousness, is get disputes turned around quicker. It's too easy to push it into a court that takes a year to turn around, when that small company, Transguard's slightly different because obviously we're a lot bigger, but them small companies can't handle that. They can't pay their staff. So quicker turnaround into disputes, because I think you would resolve a lot of issues with that. Maybe put some market experts in that dispute team that can turn things around quicker. I think I'd like to see clients taking a more sustainable approach. Instead of going for the lowest price, maybe, partnering, regards to working together, like a one team. So our staff, if they're working somewhere in an operation or a building, they believe they're part of that team, which is right. That's what you want. So if you, like I said before, if you shake hands and for the next 3 years you're fighting over payments, it's not sustainable and it's not the right approach. And then you continually moving from different companies. And I think if people talk a lot in the UAE, rightly so, around improving staff and developing their people, but that's fine as long as it's not just talk. So the same customers and clients who do talk about that go for the bottom line company, go for the lowest price company. Well, how does that company then develop their staff? Right. So Transguard has set up the Centre of Excellence. It's an unbelievable facility, and we do all our staff development, whether it's directors doing Six Sigma, right down to guys on rebar. Okay. And it's an investment that we wanted to do. No one, that's Transguard investment. That's our putting our profit into our staff, and it's the right thing to do. And it has shown dividends. That's why we keep growing. Okay. And I think my last one would probably be, if I'm talking pure FM, I'd like to see a total FM approach. Okay. And what I mean by that, too many companies in the UAE still think they want a cleaning company, and that has to be different from the security company, right? Which has to be different from the pest control company. Where if you look at the rest of Europe and places in America and things like that, they go to a one-stop shop where you can still have suppliers working in that, but you're paying one overhead. Okay. So it's beneficial for everybody, and then you create a win-win because you can pay your staff more. If you do it from an educated point of view, you can go outward spec more. So at the moment, I still hear this all the time, we want 200 cleaners. Right, okay. And it's, why do you want 200 cleaners? No, we've always had 200 cleaners. Yeah, why do you want 200 cleaners? Okay. Why don't you ask the experts and say, this is the outward spec we want. This is what our building needs to look like. How many people can you go away, do that, and each day, this is how the building's got to look like. Right. Then it's in the supplier's gift to make sure that if it doesn't happen, obviously there's KPIs to penalise and penalties, etc., etc. But then you haven't just got, because really, if you're just asking for 200 cleaners, you're not doing FM, you're doing manpower. Right. And that's where I think the education from the clients, a lot of clients are changing that now. We've seen that a lot, which is why Transguard strategy is we can do everything. We have competition in all our work streams, but when we put it all together, there is no competition. Okay. So that's part of our strategy and why we do that. Cool. Well, I mean, those are 3 points that I think would be good to address if we can. And, I think we look forward to the market, trying to address those points. Certainly addressing payment delays and liquidity in the market are 2 issues that contractors across the food chain, as you rightly put it, would like to see addressed. Greg, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you very much for having me. Enjoyed it. Well, you've been listening to the Construction Week Viewpoint podcast. We hope you've enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed putting it together. We will be back next week with a new episode. But until then, thank you very much for listening and goodbye.